It's your November housing market update, focusing specifically on how each of the four home types is performing right now. Overall market is appearing balanced on the surface, but you need to break it down by property style. The story changes quickly. So let's walk through the detached, the semi-detached, row homes, and apartments, comparing prices, days on market, months of supply, and year-over-year sale trends. So let's first start with detached homes. Detached homes continue to be the steadiest part of the market. The average price sits at over $755,000, with benchmark price just down under 2% year over year. Sales softened slightly, down 4.5% compared to November this time last year, yet still with the typical seasonal activity. The days on market have risen to 45 days, up nearly 33% from last year, reflecting a slower pace but healthy demand. Months of supply is at just under 3 months, 2.97, which keeps detached homes in a fairly balanced territory. Next, semi-detached homes. This category has value extremely well. Value, with the average price being over $666,000. It's virtually unchanged year over year. The sales dipped 3.5%, essentially matching last year's level. The days on market, though, have increased to 46 days. That's rising 46% year over year. Inventory, however, climbed to the highest. November levels in 5 years, pushing months of supply to 3.29 months after another sign of a balanced but slower moving segment. So let's switch to row homes and townhomes. This is where the higher inventory is starting to weigh on prices. The average price is $446,000, while the benchmark price has fallen over 6% year over year. Sales have dropped sharply, down 22% from the recorded highs we saw last year. The days on market have stretched to 53 days. That's up 49%. Inventory levels are the highest we've seen in November since 2018, creating 3.51 months of supply. This segment is still near balance, but leaning towards early buyer market conditions simply because of the rising supply. Finally, apartment homes. This is the softest part of the market right now. The average price is $359,000, and the benchmark price has corrected by over 7% year over year. Sales are down 28%, bringing activity back to long-term norms. Days on market are the longest of any property type, now at 59 days, as inventory reached a record high November level, giving us 5.5 months of supply. That's well into a buyer's market territory. Buyers in this segment have more choice, more negotiating power, and more leverage than we've seen in years. So what does all this mean? Well, let's break it down. For buyers, particularly those targeting apartments or townhomes, this winter brings increased choice, softer prices, and more leverage. Higher density homes offer some of the best opportunities we've seen in years. For sellers, well, detached and semi-detached homes remain the strongest performers. These segments are still moving at a healthy pace, and pricing correctly can position your home well, even in a slower season. Sellers in higher density sectors will need to be more strategic in pricing and presentation to stand out. So to sum it up, imagine the Calgary market like a winter highway. Detached and semi-detached homes are flowing steadily in those lanes, slower than summer, but still moving smoothly. While the row and apartment lanes are experiencing heavier traffic, more cars, slower speeds, and more pace for buyers to merge in on their terms. How's that for an analogy? If you'd like a personalized breakdown of how today's conditions affect your specific property, community, or buying plans, I'm here to help. Send me a DM to connect.